and somehow over millions and billions and trillions of years these atoms formed and life was created, living organs were created, and the cells formed, and then the cells formed into more complicated bodies and more complicated bodies. Finally, the human body is there with a brain, intelligence, and in this way, life came about. So, and you may ask, an intelligent person may ask, there are not so many intelligent people because of the force of the material nature to cover our consciousness. But if someone is intelligent, he may ask, but who am I in all of this? What is consciousness? All the material elements are there, okay, evolution process is there, but how is it that consciousness appears? Because consciousness is something very different from material elements. Now, on the one hand, you have all the material gross elements, or the subtle elements also. The bodies, so many different forms, so many different things, everything we can perceive. Everything we can perceive, we can touch, we can hear, we can see, we can smell, we can taste. All those material elements which can be perceived by our senses. But who is a perceiver? There's a fundamental difference between what is perceived and the one who perceives. You, your own experience, you as a perceiver, on the one hand, and everything you can perceive on the other hand. There's a fundamental difference between that. Krishna explains in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the field of activities, on the one hand, on the other hand, Purusha, the one who experiences. And he also explains there are two types of Purusha. But basically the difference between the perceiver and the perceived. So what you make of this cannot be explained by any kind of material knowledge. They are just saying that consciousness at one point of evolution develops. Then there is consciousness. But there is a very basic difference between, and it cannot be explained really, between a person who perceives something, who is active, and then what can be perceived. All the material elements. So that question comes up maybe in a few souls in the material world. But where are the answers to that? To that question, who am I? Where is the answer to this dilemma that makes us schizophrenic? That on the one hand, we believe, because we have learned it at school, at university, everyone is saying it, everyone is confirming it, that what I am is just an accumulation of material elements. Atoms and molecules and DNAs and bacteria and viruses, everything is going on in my body. I am this. So where's the sense of life in this? And then the body is meant to live for a few years only, maybe 100 years. The average lifespan in European countries is something around 80, 82, 84. So, but you may only live 50 or 40 or even only a few minutes in this body. So, what is the purpose of life? So, in reality, and that's why I call it schizophrenic, we are living in a way, feelingly and from our feeling, and we are living in a way as if we were not just material elements. Because if we were just material elements, why should we make any effort in this world? Why should we take care of our family? They are just material elements. I'm just material elements. Everything will dissolve. Why should I care for anything? Why should I have any inspiration to live? So our natural feeling of life is completely different to what we intellectually believe. Intellectually we may believe everything is just an accumulation of material elements, of atoms. But we live a life as if there was sense, as if we were persons, as if we had relation between people, as if there was love and care and all this. So that is schizophrenic. You have an intellectual understanding that blocks you to really develop your life, to really develop your understanding, to really find real sense in life. And on the other hand, you live in a way that you push away all this understanding and you live a normal life, but on an instinctive level that does not allow, like animals, that does not allow you to really develop your understanding. Everyone is looking for sense in life. If life doesn't make sense for you, in one moment, if you think everything is useless, you will kill yourself. You can't continue living. So we need to have sense. Life has to make sense. But if we don't use our intelligence, or we don't get the right information to charge our intelligence, to give us real sense in life, that real sense doesn't come up. It's kind of, you're looking for sense in life, but not in a real sense, not in a big picture, only immediate things. Like when I was small, a child, I was asking my grandfather so many questions. I was asking him because the rest of the family, they didn't respond at all. He was trying to respond to questions. But his ultimate conclusion was that sense of life, and he was trying to, imbibe that in me, put that into me, is to find a good job, to have a family, and develop your life like this. You have family life, you marry, then you have children, you live happy socially, you have friends, you have a good job, social status, and that's it. That means we are looking for sense in life, to make something that makes sense for us. However, ultimate sense doesn't lie in that, because everything will dissolve at one moment. So the next question is,
Actually, Prabhu is writing something different. He's writing that we should endeavor as much as we can to have a stable life, and to he puts it in other words. It's in the 8th canto, 20th chapter, 2nd verse, in the introduction. That we really should, the human endeavor should be so much that we are respected by others. So that's actually also the goal. 8:20.
Yeah.
8:21.
Yeah, so what do you want to say with that?
Sorry.
My grandfather is right, huh? My grandfather was right. Yeah, he was right in a sense of partial knowledge. Is partial knowledge. There is some importance in the material world. But still there are many questions that are open. For example, I had the question, okay, I do all this, but then? What happens then, after? Okay, I learn a good job, I become an engineer. I actually did that, I became an engineer. I studied many years to become an engineer. So then you work, you have good income. Good income means you can survive in this world. And then you have family and friends and everything. And what comes after? At one point, these people all die. And in the end, you also die. So the next question is, okay, what happens then? Everyone dies. So why I'm doing all this if in the end everything breaks? So what is death actually? Is there life after death? What happens after death? We are living in a country with Christian religion, there's some belief there. So is it true or not? Is that true, or what the scientists say, that everything is just a material energy and life doesn't make any sense? There is no sense. Or is it true that what is said in Christian religion, yeah, if you live a pious life and if you do this and that, you will gain eternal life. One does not know exactly what it is. So what is true then? There is no decision in how to say, there is no final decision in our societies. Both things exist there. Scientists make us believe that religion, yeah, is some faith, is some, okay, if you need that to psychologically calm yourself down, so you can believe, okay, there's life after death. But in reality, it's not there. That's what we are taught. At the same time, at school, there's also religion. The churches are there, and so on. So, what is the conclusion? In the end, there is no conclusion. You have to find your own conclusion, isn't it? You may ask your grandfather, your parents at school, you may go to church, you may try so many things, but you have to find your own conclusion. The problem is that most people are satisfied with, at a certain point, and we don't want to think further. Immediate reality is here. No, I'm 18 years old, I need to study. I am so, I'm in such a stage of life, now I have to do this, and this, and this, and this. And then comes the end of the life, and things may happen, catastrophes may happen, personal catastrophes or catastrophes in the world, there's a war, or someone dear to you dies. And suddenly you wake up a little bit. You ask, what am I doing here? If you come to your senses, what am I doing here? So the point I was trying to make, that material nature covers our consciousness. We cannot understand what we are, what material nature really is, and what the source of everything is. Is there a source of everything? Is there a God? We cannot understand. That's why the living entity, the spirit soul, has to take a strong and conscious endeavor to overcome this illusion, this force of material nature. As long as you are in material nature, your consciousness is covered. That is scientifically, I use the word scientifically, explained in the Bhagavad Gita also. Through the three modes of material nature, in different degrees, depending how you situate yourself or how you are automatically situated in material nature, your consciousness is covered more or less in certain ways. But the coverage is always there. So to counteract that covering, you have to get spiritual knowledge from the right source. And what is recommended here is to study Srimad Bhagavatam. To study the essence of the Vedic scriptures, explained in a way that a human being in this age can understand it. And that is Srimad Bhagavatam. Then the illusion can be counteracted and you can understand, not only intellectually, that is also there, but there's also a process. One thing is the intellectual thing, who am I, what is material nature, what is my relation with it, in all details. Not only, I was speaking now in general, but in all details, what is my relation? What is God? Who is God? What is my relation with God? What is the relation between God and material nature? All these things are explained fundamentally in Bhagavad Gita and then in more detail in the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is on the intellectual plane. And when you understand this, you can take up some practices that make you realize this knowledge. You can actually see, experience it. You can experience that you are not the body. You can experience your relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with Vishnu or Krishna. You can experience it. That is the value of that knowledge. And one of the processes to experience this, to realize this, to be a soul that is awakened, not covered by the material energy, but fully awake, fully alive. One of the processes is hearing, and it's the main process that is explained, or the basic process on which all other processes rest. They come from there. Without hearing from the right source, without assimilating spiritual knowledge that enters through the ears, or you can also read it in books, the other processes will not manifest. And so hearing from the right source, which is here recommended, is the very Srimad Bhagavatam we are just reading, you can become fully realized. And you can develop your real nature as a spirit soul, be completely aware of it, and especially, maybe the most important part, understand your relationship with God in all details. And if that is accomplished, you are prepared after this life, when you leave the body, not to be dead and go to the next body according to your karma. But when your consciousness is prepared, there's no necessity for any material body anymore. You are prepared to go to your home, your real home. And that is the spiritual world where all souls live in direct company of God. So even that this can be any goal in life that gives real sense to our life, you can't understand without spiritual knowledge, because you are covered. That doesn't mean that when you read these books, when you read Srimad Bhagavatam, is kind of giving you an idea and you have to accept it. And it's like the same as you go at school, at university. The knowledge that you get there, you have to accept it, you have to write an exam, and if the answers are not right, you don't get your diploma. It's not like that. This knowledge is there, and it's for your understanding. You will put it into practice and you see its reality. It's not some theoretical knowledge, a dogma, indoctrination, okay, you believe, now this is my new understanding, this is my faith. No, you can see. Therefore we say, this is real scientific knowledge. You can put that into practice And you can see with your own life how it works. You can see with your own eyes how everything changes because your consciousness changes. And consciousness is a sign of a spiritual soul. It's nothing material. You have the proof in your own experience, before your own eyes. Therefore, it's not dogmatic knowledge. It's just doing it, trying it, and see what it does with you, what it does with your consciousness, what it does with your life. It transforms everything. Any questions or comments?
Can you read the beginning of Prabhupada?
Yeah. Here it is seen that by hearing the glories of the Lord from a realized devotee, the prachetas easily attain strong attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Prachetas easily develop this attraction.
Easily, yeah.
What means easy?
Yeah, that struck your attention, no? That Prabhupada says here, easily. Yeah, it's easy. You want me to explain how it is easy? Because you think it's not so easy.
I want something cheap.
Yeah, it's easy, it's cheap. The process in itself, the process of hearing is easy. You have learned at school how to read. In your language, the books are available. This is in English. You understand English, you can read this. You understand German, there's a German translation. You can read it. Everyone can read. A child, I don't know from what age we can read and understand. 6 years, 7 years, 8 years old, you can read. Maybe you cannot understand, but you can read. Okay? And the reading is transforming you. Or you can hear, here it is said, they hear from a realized soul. So you go to a realized soul. The problem is to find a realized soul. That might be the problem. But if you sit in front of a realized soul and you hear that person speak, these words penetrate your consciousness, the layer of illusion, and you as a soul directly perceive this knowledge. So it's just hearing, or take a book and read. That is a process. And that basically is easy. Of course, the whole transformatory process, it takes some time. And of course, at a certain point, it requires your commitment, your attention, your endeavor, your everything, in the end, to give your whole being, your whole soul to this kind of lifestyle. But the basic principle is easy. If you continue hearing this, if you continue hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, that is what Srila Prabhupada guarantees here, you easily develop your consciousness and go to the spiritual world. And there's no doubt about that. By reading these books. How is it possible? What do you think, why this great soul, Srila Prabhupada, made such an endeavor to translate these books?
To serve Krishna?
Yeah, to serve Krishna. Because this is our main asset. This is the main thing. This availability of this knowledge, whoever reads this will become realized if you continue reading. Of course, it's not just reading. You apply your consciousness. You try it out, what is said there. Everything becomes clear by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, It is said, Shinvatam Swakata Krishna. By attentively hearing about the glories of Krishna, which are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, everything, all obstacles in life become removed. And the soul advances in spiritual life. All the layers of the modes of material nature, ignorance and passion, go away, and one becomes established in pure goodness. Complete purification of consciousness by reading Srimad Bhagavatam alone. We have the big example of Maharaj Parikshit in this book, the main theme in this book. How Maharaj Parikshit was hearing the first time Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken. He was hearing it and attained immediately. He did only that. He didn't do any other processes. Just by listening, hearing, he attained the spiritual world. So in that sense, it's easy.
But by your explanation, I remember about previous activities of prachetas. Lord was satisfied because do austerity together and friendly.
Yeah.
Friendly.
Yeah.
Is it in connection with easy process to do together always easy, doesn't matter austerity or any activities, and if you do something together, Krishna is satisfied. Like Prachet was doing this austerity, but not important. This austerity is not so important. This was important. They was doing together, and there was friendly. If you see this example of Prachetas,
Yeah.
for them, how this was easy for them because they were doing together.
Yeah.
Hearing from right souls, from realized soul, of course important. And if you do it together, it's much easier.
Yeah. Yeah, that is one detail, and there are many details. But the main point is hearing from a realized soul, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from a realized soul, or read the book. So if you do it alone in your room, it's perfect. If you do it in an assembly of devotees like here, is even stronger, because we can discuss things. If there are any questions you are reading in your room, you don't understand something, okay, you continue reading. But if we discuss it, it's even better, it's even stronger. So this is described by Rupa Goswami as one of the 5 most potent practices in devotional service, in Bhakti, is hearing Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of devotees. It says this. Yeah, it's even stronger. But the main point is hearing. Whatever your circumstances are, put yourself into hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srimad Prabhupada ki jai.